more. Denmark West, advisor at K1 Management, joins me live from New York City. Welcome to the show, sir. And I have to say, this news from Microsoft, first of all, the markets liked it. The stock went higher. A lot of folks think that perhaps this might do the trick. It might really innovate Microsoft. It might clean up all the red tape, so to speak, that a lot of people have been complaining about. In your opinion, will it work?
So I think that that's a tricky question. There's a possibility that it could work. One of the things I think is most interesting about this is that it seems like this is a story of three Steves. You've got Steve Ballmer, you've got Steve Sinofsky, and you've got Steve Jobs. Steve Ballmer has finally aligned his thinking and his management practice with what his former protege Steve Sinofsky was advocating and what he actually led his organizations of Windows and Office to successfully manage product and really do a great job of shaping up both of those organizations. And he's also seeming to heed the advice of what Steve Jobs told Larry Page on his deathbed about focus, to the extent that he actually follows those credos and not just does the process change, but also the management change as well, especially in terms of philosophy. I think that there's a possibility it could work because Steve Sinofsky actually did a fantastic job.
I'm going to throw in the sort of B as well, or W, because I'm old enough, and most of us in here are old enough to remember when Bill Gates was running the show. And of course, Ballmer took over. And you know, there was a lot of talk at that time. During that transition, Ballmer would go to Bill Gates and go, you know, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? And I'm guessing that's probably coming to an end. But does Bill Gates have any more say in what happens at this company?
It's difficult to imagine a scenario where Bill Gates doesn't have a hand in what happens, either because he's still the chairman of the board or because he's still a significant shareholder in the company. You look at his significant wealth, the vast majority of that derives from his significant stake in Microsoft, which is, you know, the largest as an individual and the largest as an institution as well. He wields a lot of power behind the scenes.
Denmark, I have about 73 questions I want to get through, so we've got to keep going here. I want to ask you also, how did we get here? What's wrong with Microsoft?
I think that there's a couple of really big issues, and one of them really comes down to their inability to focus on the next wave of consumer opportunity. When you think about the past decade and a half, what's really been extremely exciting in technology, it's been around search, it's been around social, it's been around mobile. All of those things are actually absent in Microsoft. So if you look at Steve Ballmer as a leader, and you look at Microsoft as a technology company, they focus more on enterprise than consumer, and they're much more into established spaces versus nascent spaces. They haven't really been breaking into those frontiers of innovation.
I have spoken to some inside people at Microsoft over the past couple of years, and one of the biggest complaints that I've heard is that there's a group of employees that sit there. They've been around for 15 years. They don't need to do anything. They're going to be fine, but they don't innovate. Then there's this other group of folks that have been working there for the last few years. They're young, they're hungry, they're strong, they want to innovate. Is there a culture clash developing internally, like almost a civil war, if you will?
I actually worked at Microsoft for almost 7 years, and I can tell you that that is not a new culture clash. It's been going on for quite a while. I think that it's probably coming to a head now because the growth is slowing, and so now the clash is actually going to be a bit more visible and have a little bit more tension associated with it. But I think that this is one of the things that you can see in the reorganization that Steve is trying to manage by taking some of the more long-standing executives like Craig Mundy, bringing him to a new post.
Very quickly, how much is Steve Ballmer at the head of this company?
Oh, very much. I think that he clearly solidified his position with this most recent round of changes. In fact, I would argue that he's now in a position where the most likely successor is probably going to come from outside of the company.
Denmark West, advisor K1, thank you very much for joining us live from New York City.